going offensively. And when you look at the first half, I thought our defense completely kept us in the game. I think it was a 2-point game at halftime. Kind of, sort of like the Notre Dame game. But it's tough when when you look at our starting 1, 2, and 3, and we don't make 3-point shots. It's tough. We got some great looks. I thought DJ did a good job once they started doubling him. And I think we made 2 threes on the night, and one of them came from Mo. And so obviously, I think in the second half, what happened was, in the first half didn't bother us. I thought we started pressing a little bit when we didn't make shots in the second half, and I think our defense started suffering because we didn't make shots. So we got to get back in the gym. We got to figure it out. We got to get going. It's going to be tough for us to beat anybody when we shoot the ball that well, or that bad, I should say. And certainly we got to get back and figure out, how to get going. And I thought DJ was really good in the first half. Go against Baycock, made some shots, did a really good job of moving the ball when they did trap him. But we got to figure out how to make some shots. So, questions?
Kevin, was the 3-point shooting a product more of your own just missing, or was it their defense doing something to take you out of your comfort zone?
No, I thought we got great looks. I thought we forced a few late in the second half. But I thought we got some great looks in the first half. It just didn't go. I wouldn't imagine that Casey would be 0 for 6 and DJ Horn 0 for 3 and Jaden Taylor 1 for 4. And they didn't mean to miss them. They just missed shots. I mean, we got some really good looks. I just think they didn't go down.
With that in mind, you mentioned the good first half DJ had and Armando having foul trouble. How much does tonight feel like a missed opportunity for you?
Well, it's a make or miss game. And, yes, Baycock was out of the game, but at the end of the day, if you don't score the basketball, it's going to be hard. We scored 52 points, and, we got to be able to score the basketball. Like, we're a much better team offensively than we displayed, and it wasn't anything that I felt like they did. I just think we made shots, and, for whatever reason, it didn't go in. We had this same game 2 or 3 games ago at Notre Dame, which I hated it then. But we could rely on our defense, and we figured a way to win the game. But you're not going to win many if we don't figure out how to make some shots.
It seemed like DJ Horn was pressing from the beginning almost. If he had gotten a couple shots to go early, it might have helped him. But it seemed like he pressed when they didn't go.
Yeah, I just think when you are a shooter, and you don't see the ball go in the hole, you start to struggle. I thought late in the second half when we didn't make those shots, we gave up transition baskets. We didn't give up any of that stuff in the first half. When, they went up maybe 5 or 6 points and we didn't 7 points and we didn't make shots, I thought we started pressing a little bit at that time.
The players talked about Spurs have disconnected on both offense and defense. What did you kind of see from that, especially in the second half?
That's what we talked about at the end of the game in the locker room. And one of the things we said is I said to them, when you're not making shots is when you got to become more connected on both ends of the floor. I don't think there was a disconnect in how we played. That was them saying what we talked about, and they talked about is, hey, when you're not making shots, you got to be able to do something else. You got to be able to be connected, and you got to defend. You got to do those type of things, and that's kind of where it was. I thought it was at the end when we did make shots, it was like I'm going to step up and make a shot, and it became a little bit more of a hero mentality opposed to doing it as a team.
Your team only forced 12 turnovers tonight, led to 7 points on turnovers. I mean, how big of a swing was that for you guys, given the type of basketball you like to play?
Yeah, I mean, we just, once again, Corey, here's the thing that we've had to figure out. We've had a couple games, and only a couple of them when I didn't think we played offensively. But the reason why you look at our numbers and how many deflections and how many steals we get is because when you don't score the ball, you can't get into your presses. And we wasn't able to get into it because the ball didn't go in the hole like we needed it to.
Saw you went over to check on Wendell Murphy. What do you remember about that sequence?
I couldn't remember anything. I saw Ingram go aggressively after the basketball, and that's all I know. I didn't even know who it was over there at first, and it was taking a while, so I want to make sure that he was okay. I found out it was him. I want to make sure he's okay.
You got Louisville this weekend. I know they won it this evening. How big is it to sort of dump this and sort it out and get back in the mindset?
Yeah, it's a long season. If there's one person in here that's disappointed, that's me. My players are disappointed too. We dropped a game at home, and we don't want to do that. And we dropped a game where we didn't play good offensively, but at the end of the day, you can't soak on it for very long. You got to figure out how to move on. We're 3-1 in this conference. We're right in the thick of the race of everything, and we have to figure out now how to flush this and, prepare for Louisville, who went on the road and got a great win at Miami. So we got to figure those things out. And I've said this all along. Anybody in this league can beat you on any given night. And certainly this was tough for us because it's our first conference loss. Like we've been smiling, we've been jumping up and down, and this is our first conference loss, and we got to figure out how to bounce back and adjust ourselves and shake it off and get back to winning. We'd won 4 in a row and maybe 7 out of the last 8, I think it was. And unfortunately, it wasn't there for us offensively tonight.
Do you have the kids to do that?
I do. I think we bounced back. When we lost at Ole Miss, when we lost in Vegas to BYU, I think we bounced back and found a way.
Coach, you mentioned before with Carolina now played them. What impressed you the most about them?
I'm sorry, say that again,
I
Chip.
said, having now played Carolina and not just seen them on video, what impressed you the most about their team?
Well, I think the biggest thing about their team, what makes them different, is their role players are really playing. I mean, you look at Ingram. He's been a starter for 4 years, and his numbers were great. I mean, 9 and 19 rebounds. He made winning plays. Cadeau, who's played in this league for a long time, he's made not Cadeau. I mean, Cormac Ryan. He made some big shots when he had to. I just think the pieces around Armando and RJ are really good, and they're older and they're solid and they know how to play, and they made timely shots when they had to.
Coach Keatts, you mentioned how you use the 3 early losses to get you guys a good start in conference play. What do you learn from playing a talented North Carolina team to help benefit you guys moving forward throughout the rest of the conference play?
Well, we just got to grow. We'll go back and we'll watch a little tape tomorrow and figure out what we can do better both offensively and defensively, and then we'll move on to start preparing for Louisville. But this group has been able to shake off and learn from what sometimes at Notre Dame we learn from a win. In this case, we've got to learn from a loss and figure out how do we do better.
What were your thoughts on the crowd tonight?
Great crowd, tremendous crowd, and I'm glad you asked me that. I want to thank everybody that made it out. It was a great crowd, and unfortunately we didn't deliver a win for that crowd, and hopefully we can see those guys for the rest of the ACC schedule. But it was a tremendous crowd.
You mentioned the Notre Dame game a couple of times. What was the difference in winning a game in the 50s there to not be able to tonight?
Our defense. I mean, we didn't score there, and that was one of the worst offensive nights I thought we had, and we relied on our defense and we hung in there, and then we were able to steal the game at the end. Well, Carolina's got a few more weapons. They made shots. We were affected on the defensive end tonight when our shot didn't go in, whereas at Notre Dame it didn't bother us much. We just relied on our defense to win the game.
You mentioned you saw the Miami score. How much does it annoy you when you see people say that there's these tiers in the league and wins that you should just take for granted?
Say the first part again, I'm sorry.
You saw the Miami Louisville
Yeah.
score. People say things about Louisville or that there are games in the ACC that are easy. When it comes to the perception of the league, are those things that bother you?
Well, it's disappointing, and I'll say this because Duke's a good basketball team. We haven't played them. They lost at Georgia Tech. Okay, if you look at Notre Dame, they've had, in what people said a down year, they've lost a couple tough ones, and they beat a good Virginia team by 22 points. You look at Louisville, they go to Miami. Like it's such a major mistake for in any Power 5 conference with great facilities, recruited players, to say that you're going to go in and you're going to win. There's not one game on my schedule that I can ever look at and say that we're going to win. We got to play the games. The games are played for a reason, and this league is really good. For everybody who doubts it, who's outside of the league, send their favorite team into one of these environments and see what kind of loss they'll get. And that's just what I hope everybody would understand. The national media has kind of, ran down the ACC's not as good. And a lot of that starts when they don't think the guys who are, won multiple national championships are good. And unfortunately, it's not that way. Any given night, anybody can beat you. Wake Forest, who's having a really good year, they go to Florida State and Florida State wins. It's not a surprise to anybody. It's just Florida State's good too. They got recruited players. They got NIL money. They do a good job too. So it just happens that way. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kevin.